Hello everyone, and welcome to the first Sine Fortress Devlog. It's been... days since we announced the closure of the project, and it's been a few months since we restarted development on the project. And by now we wish to showcase what we have been working on. Please keep in mind that this project is made for fun in our free time, and we are well within the early stages of development. Everything showcased can change. With that said, on to our first devlog. So, what is Sine Fortress? Sine Fortress is a Team Fortress 2 source mod that takes place in the 90s and follows a band of independent mercenaries fighting on whatever company or groups we have to earn a quick buck, traveling from town to town in search of work. As a project, we want to be transformative with the game that Valve created, keeping in mind their design practices and turning it into something unique. Currently, that consists of new classes, weapons, and a colorful addition to our mapping tools. In the long term, we wish to expand into other aspects of the game, such as environments and setting. Let's start with the Scientist, as he's further along in development between our two new classes. The Scientist specializes in area denial and supporting his team, boasting a giant and outright massive health pool of 150 health, as well as an average walking speed. His primary weapon, the goo gun, allows him to place a hazardous liquid that spreads over an area, the size, damage, and velocity of which are determined by how long he holds the primary fire, with a single shot costing 8 ammo and a max charge costing 40. His primary weapon's secondary fire can be used to aid his team by creating pools of supporting goo, giving his team a boost into the air. This not only saves health on classes with explosive jumping, but also gives other classes more mobility options. The Scientist's secondary weapon, the Der Strahl, is a ray gun that can shoot projectiles that can phase through multiple targets, bursting into an AoE when it hits a surface. However, it does take from the same ammo pool as his primary weapon. We want the Scientist to be a strong area denial class, capable of dispersing enemy players and stopping pushes, but is vulnerable to being rushed at close range by classes like the Scout, the Pyro, and the Rusher. Though we have plans for further development, the Rusher currently isn't our primary focus, and for this video we're only going to cover the general concept for him, as we wish to be more open with our current plans for the project than we were initially, which caused a lot of confusion. Rusher's primary weapon takes the form of what we like to call kits, items that he can equip to change his fighting style. Although nothing is final, we have had conversations as to what his base kit could look like and how we wish to approach his design. Two main points of contention during development have been his mobility options as a primarily melee-focused character in a first-person shooter, as well as game flow. The first problem ended up with us discussing giving him the ability to kick off of walls. Doing so would push him off of a surface, which can then be followed up with a mid-air kick, allowing him to hold his momentum in the air for longer, giving him a mobility option that stands out on its own, as well as to be used prior to or following up different attacks/moves. Another idea we've had for his base kit would be to give him a lunging punch, which could be used to gain speed prior to kicking off of a wall, allowing him to ambush enemies by doing so, as well as possibly rewarding him with extra damage based on his velocity. This is a small example of one of the core things we want to keep in mind with his design, that being to maintain some sort of flow with his attacks for them to be chained together. This would also give his gameplay more depth, as well as differing him from subclasses like Demo Knight. Now, let's talk about what we have developed further.
This is our new RGB team color system. With this, we wanted to open up opportunities for mappers and level designers, allowing them to experiment with not just a new time period, but new palettes, environments, and scenery. Level designers will be able to explore beyond the confines of red and blue without limiting them to set palettes and game modes. Map makers will be able to select the colors for their teams through new parameters we've added onto the TF Game Rules map entity, or can simply choose to disable RGB for a team and use the default team colors of red and blue. We already have tested this system for map making by implementing it into re-art passes of Barn Blitz and Metalworks. Barn Blitz, now Bomb Blitz, is a payload map where a group of tree-hugging hippies hire the mercenaries to bomb an up-and-coming oil refinery. Another is a King of the Hill version of Metalworks, in which two candy companies are fighting over a carbonation machine, dubbed the Carbonator, underneath the center control point.
On the topic of Metalworks, we have created concept art for these two companies for their architectural styles. The Brown Company, primarily a chocolate company, utilizes a rich brown palette and old-fashioned square buildings with a generally more inviting look. In contrast, our Yellow Company is lightly inspired by the architecture of the Nuka-Cola Company from the Fallout franchise. Featuring rounded roofs that meet against hard edges with thin windows high off the ground to convey their more secretive nature. We've also gone ahead and redesigned both the Rusher and Scientist, as well as re-outfitted some of the original mercenaries. With Rusher and Scientist, we really wanted to focus on giving them each their own unique silhouettes. We also changed the way that we drew their concept art, using a grayscale art style so we can make sure that their shape is unique amongst the rest of the cast. At the moment, Scientist has new models, textures, and animations being worked on. And with the original mercenaries, we want to make sure that their outfits fit their character as well as some of the backstories that we have planned to take place within Sine Fortress's canon. Now, onto our weapons.
And by weapons, we mean weapon because we lied to you, there's only one today. Our only new weapon we developed past concept art so far is a new sapper, the Time-Bombe. The Time-Bombe is a sapper for the spy that can be placed on an engineer's building, starting a countdown before exploding. If the Time-Bombe is replaced, it will continue to count down from where it previously was. On detonation, it will deal explosive damage to nearby enemies and buildings. This also gives the spy an opportunity to perform an explosive jump. The major downside of this weapon is that it does not disable engineers' buildings, making the spy much more vulnerable when undisguised. Currently, this weapon is incomplete and has some minor issues. Everything else is mostly in the concept stage right now.
With all that said, to be able to progress in our current goals, Sine Fortress needs more developers. Ever since we're starting developer, turn on, please develop me. Ever since we restarted development, our programmer Vruk has been doing much of the heavy lifting in terms of programming, which includes implementing and reworking various systems for Sine Fortress. And although I've had a lot of help from our other artists, not Dave or Daniel, in conveying our ideas, it's been draining to only have so many people to work with regarding our project's creative goals and the world that we wish to make. If you would be interested in developing for the project or becoming a playtester for it, there are 2 sign-up sheets in the description below. One for developers, one for playtesters. We also have a Discord server which will also be linked down below.